This Buddhist monastery campus in central Thailand was built as a drug rehabilitation center. Today, it's a sprawling, dilapidated village, fenced in by the military, inhabited by perhaps the last refugees from the war in Indochina. For about 2 decades, thousands of Hmong, an ethnic minority from Laos, have lurched from camp to camp in a stateless limbo. Early this year, the U.S. said it would grant refugee status to about 15,000 residents of this camp. Anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 are expected to move to St. Paul, Minnesota, which has the largest Hmong community of any American city. Anticipating a new influx, St. Paul Mayor Randy Kelly brought a delegation to the camp. He said he wanted to assess how many people might move to Minnesota and what their needs would be in areas like education, housing, and healthcare. A huge crowd greeted the visitors.
And I would like to begin by thanking you for the support that many of you gave to our country in the war in Vietnam.
It was their close anti-communist alliance with the CIA that forced the Hmong, people like Chao Lor, to flee Laos when communist forces took over.
I had to carry my sons on my back until it was calloused. We had to run away through the jungle from people trying to kill us. I didn't think we'd make it.
Several thousand Hmong refugees were given asylum in the U.S. during the late 1970s and early 80s. It was a painful transition for an agrarian, isolated community from the tropical Laotian hills, says Mee Moua, the first Hmong elected to Minnesota's legislature.
Imagine landing at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport in the middle of a blizzard, which has happened to some of my relatives, to say, and this is America. It's physically shocking, it's visually shocking, and it is emotionally draining to try to process all of that.
Even as they brought old traditions like Hmong New Year festivities to new venues like the Minneapolis Metrodome, the Hmong, more than most immigrants, struggled with language and cultural barriers. Few people in host communities understood either their language or culture. 2 decades later, life remains a struggle for many, but St. Paul's Hmong community has made significant strides. Almost half of Hmong families own their own homes, and there are 400 Hmong-owned businesses in the city. Senator Moua, a lawyer by training, is one of many success stories.
We have state senators, Mee Moua. We have a state representative, Sai Tao. We have a school board member, Gazul Kong. We have a number of Hmong who have been and are very successful in our political life in our community.
Attorney Eileen Her, who came to the U.S. at age 6 in the first wave, thinks the role the Hmong community is playing in the newest resettlement is critical.
The first time around, like 30 years ago, the Hmong community was not a part of the discussion at all, and now we are, and we're part of the solution. And that, I think, to me, is very healing, and I think that's what the community here needs to hear.
Wherever Her and other Hmong Americans went, they found hugs, tears, and pleas for help.
She does have a husband. Her husband is old. They don't think that they can make it in the U.S. If we do not come, remember us, love us, help us to stay here.
Some camp residents pleaded for help to remain in Thailand, a place that's become familiar after decades. But the Thai government has ruled out permanent residency for people it considers illegal migrants.
I fought for the United States, the CIA, and General Bank in the past.
Others, especially older people, remain faithful to the original cause of fighting the Laotian government and want U.S. help. One of Chao Lor's 4 sons remains a guerrilla in the jungle. Another 2 went to America in the 1980s. At that time, Chao Lor and her 4th son, Chal Chang, stayed behind to help her husband, who was addicted to opium. By the time he died, the window of opportunity to go to the U.S. had closed. Now, she says, this family's painful separation may finally end.
I'm very hopeless. I'm sad because my family is broken up. One's in Laos, one's in America, one's in Thailand. We have no future here.
Her son and daughter-in-law are concerned about their own ability to adapt to life in America.
I'm worried that I won't be able to get a job because I don't speak English.
But they're excited at the better future their 7 children will have. For the past decade, they've shared a 400-square-foot mud floor shack. They must walk past open sewers for basic amenities like water and sanitation. Schools in the camp are crowded. Most classes are taught in Thai.
Hi, Randy. Hi, Randy.
Study hard, learn English, and when you come to America, you'll be ready to learn and become very successful.
Despite all the privation, the new generation has more going for them than earlier waves of Hmong refugees. The Chang kids have access to the internet and television. On the health front, there are few resources to treat everyday problems like diabetes, and none for specialized needs, counseling for post-traumatic stress syndrome, which many elders suffer. Still, Dr. Patricia Walker, a public health expert, said she found no major health threats.
In talking with the medical staff here, preliminary first impressions are that this is a reasonably healthy camp. It's certainly not like an acute refugee camp setting. I think the water supply is reasonably good, sanitation's reasonably good. People get some money from home in the United States and therefore can buy eggs and chicken and vegetables, and not seeing a lot of vitamin deficiencies.
For this family, those relatives in the United States include Chao Lor's sister Mee Moua, who lives in St. Paul. They've seen each other only once in 17 years. We showed Mee Moua pictures from our visit to the Thai camp.
She said that when she's come here, her sister still look young, but now her husband died and she look old, and even she will miss her.
She lives with her son, wife, and 8 children in a St. Paul bungalow. In the extended family tradition, where resources are pooled, they make a living doing factory work, running a cleaning business and a restaurant. They are anxious to reunite the family, even though it means 10 more people will squeeze into this house for a while. And even with some public assistance to start, Marie Chang says it will be a financial struggle given the tough local job market for the newcomers.
I think before it's not hard, but now it's like business slow. But I think if they don't care about the wage, so they will be able to find the job too.
The slow economy is one reason not everyone in Minnesota is thrilled at the prospect of more Hmong settlers. The mayor's office, for example, has a stack of mail and messages critical of his trip.
Why is the mayor bringing the Hmong immigrants to our city? There's like one that just said, my son's out of work and is very much opposed to Hmong immigrants resettling here.
For his part, the mayor insists he isn't inviting new Hmong refugees. Instead, he said he just wants to get a better handle on the needs of those who'd come to Minnesota anyway. But at the end of a moving day at the camp, Kelly said if his trip made St. Paul seem more hospitable than other places, the Hmong deserve that.
Quite honestly, I think that this group of people have been neglected, have been forgotten, and I believe that as an American, we need to show that those people who come forward and assist us and become our allies should be treated properly, and I'm not sure that they have been. So if I can, from a standpoint of representing the United States, extend a hand of welcome when I know they're coming to America, then I'm honored to do that.
Camp residents must now undergo a rigorous battery of clearances for security and health risks and interviews to determine that they are political, not economic refugees. The first arrivals are expected this summer.